Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to those of you joining us on the West Coast. I would like to welcome you to today's online presentation, Is Your Fund Prepared for a Cyber Attack? Best Practices to Protect Your Fund in an Ever-Changing Electronic World. Now I would like to introduce you to our speakers. Today we have Catherine Bakic, Senior Vice President and Health Compliance Practice Leader, Gisela DeSaint-Romain, a Senior Consultant in our Administration and Technology Consulting Practice, and Andrew Kaplan, a Vice President in our Communications Practice, and Brian Smith, the Chief Operating Officer of Segal Select Insurance. With that, I will turn things over to Brian to begin today's presentation.
Thank you. And again, good afternoon or good morning to everyone who's here. We appreciate you coming to us for this webinar. We think it's very timely, and let's take a look at the agendas. So we're going to go through this pretty rapidly. We have a fair number of slides. We want to cover this from a different set of viewpoints, but we're going to go to an overview. We're going to just touch upon Anthem very briefly. We all know Anthem has occurred, so it's not the theme, but it's more or less a starting point that's initiated the theme for this webinar. Plan responsibilities, fiduciary duties, HIPAA high-tech, privacy, compliance type issues, security technology, what can you do to identify and protect yourself from risk, new fund office technologies and possible data threats, what can you do to transfer? If you've minimized, eliminated, you've done everything else you can do, can you now transfer what remains, and then wrap up and do some questions if we have time for them. To look at it from a different point of view, if we have a cyber event, and let's use Anthem now as our example, the Anthem event has occurred, it's been announced, should you have done anything before this event occurred? After it starts to get resolved, is there something you should be doing after the event? And if this was your event, a breach of your records, what should you be doing during the event? So we want to look at these type of issues on this timeline of before, during, and after. When do you do a risk assessment identification, severity assessment, compliance reviews? And you can just look at the rest of these bullets. So this is the theme to keep in mind throughout this webinar of before, during, and after. So the Anthem event occurred, 80 million records. Anthem, we know, was a covered entity, and therefore, from what we understand, is the one who is responsible for doing the announcements. But we've had a lot of our customers still calling us and saying, should we be doing anything? Are we okay? Is there anything else that should be done? And that's what we want to look at in this webinar. So let's move forward. I don't know if that's, there we go. So the first thing we want to do is in the healthcare, what are the big breach events that we know have occurred? And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy Bakic, and she'll start to take you through the next couple of slides.
Thank you, Brian. We wanted to give you some examples of different types of healthcare breaches because this is instructive to both understand where the risks are and also to see what the government is going to be seeing in terms of where they're going to put their enforcement efforts. Once there is a reported breach and it's reported to the Department of Health and Human Services, they will automatically review any enforcement action that may be necessary with respect to that breach report. So these are some of the big health industry breaches, and I'll tell you where these come from in just a minute. Anthem and Premera, obviously biggest ones involving hacking incidents. Other types of healthcare providers or plans which are covered entities include this Science Applications International Corporation with almost 5 million breaches. They were a business associate. Community Health Systems, also a business associate. Advocate Health was a direct provider that had a theft. Xerox had a business associate relationship and they had an unauthorized access disclosure, and it goes on. And you can see that some of these incidents involve the direct covered entity reporting, and others involve people reporting who are business associates and they're reporting, and the business associates have the liability to take direct action with respect to these activities because of the new high-tech law that was passed in 2009.